We are live.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. We're going to go ahead and give it a couple minutes for more folks to join before we get started with Cami. And my name's Jen Burton, and we're really excited about this opportunity today to learn from Cami. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started here. I know we have a lot to cover. My name is Jen Burton, and I'm really excited to be here today with Cami to host this masterclass. I'll give one sentence about me. I've led customer experience initiatives at Fandom, Dig. I'm currently at Flagship, and I spent several years helping out and coaching new startups who are using the Zendesk platform on the best practices around CX and also best practices around Zendesk and other software tech stack. So I'm really excited today. What I do now is I partner with companies, mostly Series A, Series B startups, to help them navigate rapid growth and scaling and get ready to really grow their customer experience organizations in a way that ensures business excellence. So before we dive in with Cami, I want to talk about Birdie, who is generously hosting this class today. Birdie is an AI platform that really drives business forward for customer experience teams. They've had success in 10xing CX productivity, 20 to 30% reduction in customer churn, and over 40% reduction in CX costs, which is just a really dreamy piece of software. I think every CX leader and every CFO, these are great numbers to really help maintain a really solid performance, grow performance without having to spend more operationally. So what we see is that feedback is all across the place. It may be with your success teams and your account managers. It may be with your support teams. And there's really been no standardization, right? So what we can't do is correlate these voice of customer with business metrics. How do we take what these customers are saying and experiencing into business planning and strategy? Leadership, as I'm sure you all know, I certainly know this, it takes a lot of spreadsheets. It's very time consuming. We're out here managing data analysis and having to really go in and dig to get those granular insights that are so important. And then what we do is we've got to find a way, and Cami's going to teach this today. We've got to find a way to engage our stakeholders and our executives in prioritizing these results and prioritizing these initiatives. So Cami's going to teach us all about that today. I'm really excited about that. And so here's just a little graphic of how Birdie works. Coming in, we're going to start with measuring the communication and into the journey monitoring. Where are these folks going and how are they getting to us? So we're going to use this to really identify and quantify opportunities. Then we can take that data into the prioritization process for the business. From there, we have the support initiatives and the prioritization around that. And then we've got what everyone wants, which is initiative tracking, show me the money, how did this work? And then it just keeps going in this wonderful cycle here. So that's really the strong benefit of Birdie, is to put all of this into one package for CX leadership. All right, so I'm going to turn this over to Cami. I will just say that in the first time I spent time with Cami, I walked away from our meeting just really fired up and ready to make some changes for my current organization. And I know you're going to experience that today. So off we go with Cami's masterclass, going from a cost center to a profit engine. I'll leave it to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for setting the stage. And I can't agree more. It was such a good experience in our first conversation, and I can't wait to walk our audience through what we have prepared for them. So let's dive into this, right? So what do we have for today? Let's cover our agenda. First of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about who I am and why I'm here, what I do. Then second, we're going to dive into our first lesson. And in total, just for expectation settings, we're going to have 4 lessons here that you definitely transform the way you see CX, or the way you have been seeing CX so far. First one, how do we pick the right language? Second lesson, we're going to understand P&L. This is so key for you to be more successful when dealing with customer experience. Then the third one is, how do we make CX a fundamental driver of business success? Because it can be, and actually is, but it highly depends on how we position CX. And that's one of the things I'm going to teach you today. Then the fourth is, how do we use data to focus on needle movers? Data is absolutely all over the place nowadays, right? So if we compare today to a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, my goodness, we have so much more data available. However, I don't want you to get lost. I want you to be laser focused on what actually makes the difference so you can be more successful. And last but not least, final takeaways. I am seeing here people joining us from Brazil, from Mexico City. So it's such a pleasure to have you all from Toronto. Welcome, everybody. So it's a pleasure to have you here. So let's get this going. Fantastic. So who I am, right? I am Camila, but I also go for Cami. First and foremost, you may have noticed my accent. I am not from the US. I am Brazilian. I am married. I am a parent. I have a 5-year-old that is at school. That's the reason why I can kind of host this masterclass, because while he's home, oh my goodness, lots of energy around. I have been doing CX for more than 20 years. And as I mentioned, originally from Brazil, but I have had the chance to live in 3 different countries in Latin America. I also have an European experience, and now I live in the US. And I used to say that I'm my second season here in the US. First was in Chicago, and then the second one where I live right now, where I call home, is actually Miami. I was recently awarded with the best support of the industry. And one of the reasons why it happened is because we went through these transformations I'm going to teach you today, but I'm very proud of what me and my team were able to build and how we transform CX into a revenue drive engine, if you will. International speaker, I love talking. You're going to realize today I'm going to have to control myself to limit to 25 minutes because I do love talking and sharing what I know, and moreover, inspiring others to go after their dreams and making a difference. And last but definitely not least, I recently transitioned out of corporate. It's been more than 20 years, as I mentioned. However, now I engage with corporate in a completely different way. I have founded my company, which is called Rise Up, where I mentor and I consult CX. Ready? I see people from Brazil joining as well. Oi, pessoal. Let's get going. Fantastic. Let me move it here. First lesson, speak the right language. It may sound kind of too basic, but it's not. Let me give you one example. For those here in the US, this masterclass is in English, right? For those here in the US, do we speak the same English in New York as in the I don't know, the Middle West of New York or the Middle West of the US? Definitely not. The same thing in Brazil. So the Portuguese that we speak in São Paulo is different than how our friends cariocas from Rio de Janeiro we speak. And the same thing happens in organizations, right? So once we think about the different departments that we have in our organization, we have marketing. What do they think about? What do they talk about? Brand, engagement, campaigns, pricing. Once we go to sales, what do they talk about? Pipeline, conversion, quotas, mostly top line, right? If we go to finance, completely different. They are thinking of controlling costs or expenses. My goodness, you gotta tighten your expenses. You gotta sell more. They are always talking about the P&L lines, the margins, the EBITDA. They are all part of the same organization, but as you can see here, they speak different language. What else do we have? Operations. Oh my goodness, efficiency. What are our SLAs? Are we delivering our SLAs? What is the percentage? What is the productivity level? Are we being efficient and productive enough? Yes or no? Right? Oh, we have people from France. Hello, Gloria. And what if we go to CX? What do we normally talk about? We talk about NPS. We talk about customer satisfaction. We talk about retention, right? As you can see on the screen, all of those departments are part of exactly the same organization. I am pretty sure at Birdie, we have all of those departments. Are they wrong? No. And one of the things that I learned after living in 3 different countries in Latin America is that the Spanish we speak in each of them is different. And if I want to make myself well understood, what do I have to do? I have to adapt. I cannot just wait and think that my audience will adjust to me. It's actually the other way around. And this is the first lesson. What is the language that you're going to pick to communicate your CX strategy? If you keep communicating, if you keep talking your CX language, most likely you're not going to be as successful as you could be if you speak the board language. Cubby, what is board language? Come on, it's not on the screen. What do the board talk about? Once we are referring to the board, who are we referring to? To the senior leadership, to the stakeholders, to the shareholders. And one of the things that I could have mentioned of my more than 20 years of experience is that the first 10 years were dedicated to finance. So I have had the chance to prepare reports for shareholders, to work very closely with CFOs and actually understand what is the language that they speak. And one of the reasons I believe I was more successful throughout my career in CX, because I was always adjusting my language to my audience. Translating this to personal life, right? Because I don't want to kind of make this too corporate. I recently kind of transitioned out of corporate. I'm here in the US. As I mentioned, I am Brazilian. Could I live in the US just speaking Portuguese? You may be surprised, but yes. I know many Brazilians and many Latins that actually live here without speaking English. But my scope would be very much limited. I couldn't be here today, for example. That's the same thing once we talk about the different languages that are spoken in our organization. Okay? It doesn't mean you were wrong in any shape or form. Never said that, and you will never say it. What I'm saying is that depending on the language that you pick, that you choose, your scope is going to be larger or smaller. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm seeing some nods here. Fantastic. So what is the board language that I was referring to? Oops, let me pass here. Board talks about revenue, profitability, and strategic impact. That's what matters to them. And again, I am not saying that what you do in CX do not drive revenue, do not drive profitability, do not drive strategic impact. But you just need to translate. Okay, that's exactly what we have to do. So instead of you kind of keeping your operational talk that you talk to your team, by the way, which is very much needed, like CSAT, NPS, you shift this to strategic conversations. You know what? I'm going to go talk to the chief revenue officer. Fantastic. How is your retention rate? How can I help you? I can actually contribute with this amount of percentual points on your retention rate. You completely shift the conversation. What you're going to do is exactly the same, but how you communicate is different. So the first lesson of our masterclass today is the language that you speak matters. It doesn't mean that you have to speak just one. No. The more languages we speak, the more successful you're going to be. Okay? Fantastic. Ready for the second lesson? Let's go. Let's keep going. Good. So what is the second lesson? Understanding the P&L. Cami, what is P&L? Go ahead. I'm lost here. You were talking about CX. You were talking about kind of a board's language. I was following you, but now you kind of came with another acronym. What is this? Profit and loss is one of the most used reports that we use in finance. It shows us how much we have in sales, in top line, how much we have in expenses, and the difference of the two is our profit or loss. This is P&L. I don't expect anyone here to become a finance expert. I just want you to know what matters most when kind of talking to the different audiences that you're going to have across your organization. So let's see. As I mentioned, main lines, revenue, total income generated from sales and services, expenses, costs incurred to operate the business, and then you have the result. And if I have the chance to ask the audience here, I wish answer the chat, okay, so I don't feel alone here. Once you have conversations, once your manager, your COO, or your CEO kind of engage with you, where those conversations land? Once we think about the P&L lines. Stefan is saying here, P&L financial. Yeah, it's essential. Absolutely. Throughout my career and what I have been mentoring CX leaders. Most of the conversations, most of the CX related conversations fall under expenses, under efficiency. And why? Because most of the non-CX leaders see CX as a cost center. So why would I have conversations about revenue, about profit, if I see you guys as a cost center? But we can turn that page. We can change that game. Because as I said before, if you learn how to speak the board language, where you're going to reach out to the C-level of your organization and you're going to engage and speak their language, then you're going to start shifting how they view you and CX. Okay, so it's really important that we understand what are the main kind of the main lines of the P&L for us to shape our communication and start translating what CX does into business impact. And we are going to start shifting the view that CX is just a cost center. No, CX is a growth engine. That's what CX is. Okay, and that's why it's so important that we understand those lines of the P&L and we communicate in that way. And how do we do that? Because I don't only kind of teach you what to do, but how to do. So let's go to the next slide. Yes, feel free to add your questions and comments. I'm happy to answer and incorporate them here. Okay. So how do we shift CX from a cost center to a revenue engine? Let's go. One, we drive retention. Whenever we improve the customer experience drives trust, that drives loyalty, that drives revenue. You stay longer with your service provider because you trust the service that is provided. What does it mean? Higher LTV. So we are talking about retention. So instead of going and say, no, I can improve the experience, no, I can drive a longer and higher LTV, which is more revenue. It's how you communicate. It's how you position. What is the second one? I reduce churn. I have many business cases that I can share with you afterwards on how I went and focus on reducing churn. Why? Because if your client is happy, you will not only increase revenue, you're going to increase frequency. And most likely, if you start educating them, they will contact you less. So look at this. We are kind of dealing with here with the different lines of the P&L. I talk about the top line, about revenue. Now I'm talking about cost. If you combine the two, what are we talking about? We are talking about profit. We can also boost referrals. One of the examples I shared with Jen in our dry run session was how I became the biggest referral channel in my previous employer. It was just by using what I have at hand, which was satisfied clients. Satisfied clients are good referrals, right? And enable upsell. One of the things that people do not realize is that even though they think that sales is the face of the organization, which again, I do not disagree. How many touch points do we have in a contact center on a daily basis? We are talking about quantity. But if we flip that equation to quality, what can I do out of those interactions? A customer that is already happy will behave in a way. But a customer that comes to us with a problem and we have the ability to translate this into satisfaction, will behave in a completely different way. And that's when we can use that opportunity to actually upsell. So instead of going to your C-level and say, we need more budget for support because I need to recognize my team, because I need to hire more resources, because I need to train them. Let me tell you something. By improving CX, I am going to contribute with X% in retention, leading to that amount of money. You completely shifted the conversation. Okay? So first lesson, you got to choose, you got to pick your language. Second lesson, you got to understand what are the lines of the P&L and use these in your favor to communicate with your audience. Okay? Let's go to the third one. My goodness, time is running. Time is running. What is the third lesson? You're going to make CX a fundamental driver of business success. Cami, what is this? What I'm saying is that by understanding the impact that you can drive, you're going to make CX a fundamental pillar for absolutely every organization that you work for. Whenever we are discussing costs can be reduced, especially now in the era of AI. Oh, I'm going to replace this with AI. I'm going to repurpose this with the AI. But by the moment you become a revenue generator, then this game changed completely. Okay? And how do we do that? Here, first of all, what is your company's strategic objective? If you do not understand the direction that your company is moving, then it's going to be way harder for you to actually contribute. Some companies are focused on expanding. Some companies are focused on efficiency. Some companies are focused on a specific market share. What is your company focused on? Remember, whatever the company is focused on, you're going to translate these into P&L lines and start communicating in the same way. Your voice is going to be heard. I promise you. 2, whenever you understand this, okay, so my company is expanding. How can I help my company? How can I contribute to that expansion? How can I use CX to increase revenue? Oh, am I going to make all of my interactions become a referral channel? It's a way. Hello, Chris. That's definitely a way. Am I going to help them to reduce churn because I am providing a spectacular experience? It's another way. But I'm not to go talk about what is kind of the average handle time, what is the CSAT. This is for our CX team. They speak that language. With the C-level, you're going to contribute. You're going to make CX a fundamental driver for the company's success. That's what we're going to do. And what is the third one? Again, you're going to position CX as a non-negotiable business function. And today I was actually kind of scrolling on my LinkedIn and I saw a post about it on how that CX leader had a kind of a turning point on understanding that every time he was presenting CX, using CX language, he was losing the audience. But by the time he started using the C-level, the boardroom language, things completely turned around for the better. Okay? So it's really important that you understand what is the main focus, what is the strategy, what is the main challenge of your company. And then you work backwards from CX to see, okay, how CX can contribute here. And don't be afraid of taking risks. If you really want to be successful, taking risks is part of the game. Otherwise, you will always be seen as a cost center. And cost center, we will always struggle to reduce costs and not necessarily to engage in strategic conversations. Okay? Third lesson. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm a little bit behind, but we're going to go. Fourth lesson. What is this? Use data to focus on needle movers. I started this masterclass by saying that nowadays we have so much data available that it's sometimes hard for us to know which one we are going to use. And for every single metric that we deal with, that we track, we will have opportunities to improve, to make things different. This is life. The perfection does not exist, right? However, there are metrics, there are opportunities that have a higher impact. So what I used to tell my team actually is that instead of working 30% in 10 initiatives, work 100% on 3 needle mover initiatives. Effort-wise is exactly the same. But the impact and how you're going to be perceived, I can assure you, is completely different. For you, for your team, and for your clients. The sense of accomplishment, right? So again, you learn how to speak the language of the different departments. You are influencing departments other than being influenced. You understood the P&L lines. You translate the P&L lines you actually translate your company's strategy to the P&L lines. You learn how to do this. And now it's time for you to get back and look at the journey of your client and see, okay, what are the needle movers that I have here? And how do you do that? So first of all, what are the key touch points that you have? If I'm looking for sales, what are the main reasons those clients are contacting? What are the main churn reasons? What can we do differently to reduce churn and moreover to delight those customers to become referrals? Collect and analyze, as I was saying. So depending on every single organization that you work kind of partnering with. But translating this is important. It's like when you are learning a new language. Sometimes you don't have the vocabulary. There is no way I pretend to have the same vocabulary as any other kind of Native American. But if I focus on what I do, then I can make myself communicative. I can make my audience understand what I'm saying, okay? Differentiate between fixing and protecting. Please, one of the common mistakes I see people make is that once they start looking at the data, which is the very first step, say, okay, this is broken and I'm going to fix it, which is fine, good mindset. But they do not look at what is working. And then in order to fix something, they broke something that is working. So please don't do it. It's important that you have a 360 view and you are the greater advocate of the client experience. And 4, you turn insights into action. And here I'm going to tell you, the best thing you can do is talk to your agents, talk to your team. They are the ones that are really facing the merchants, the clients. They have great ideas. And there is nothing better than feel part of the decision rather than just receiving what is coming from C-level, director, VP, whatever. No. In the same way that CX leaders have a pain of feeling not being heard, I assure you that agents, supervisors feel exactly the same. So bring them to the strategy session and leverage their ideas. Okay? So for us to wrap things up here, how do we transform data? How data transforms CX? First of all, data-driven decisions. I used to work for an employer that was making decisions based on perception. And this was one of my biggest frustrations. Coming from a kind of a data-driven past experience, having to deal with perceptions to make business decisions was really hard for me. So take data, even if someone comes with perception. Oh, I think this, or I think that, or this happened. Okay, let me check the data. Because you can either prove the perception is right or wrong, but you're going to make decisions out of data. Otherwise, what is the worst that can happen? You're going to put effort and resources on something that is not a needle mover, just perception. It's a waste of resources, a waste of time. 2, identify success factors. I just kind of gave a mentoring this morning where I was telling people, whenever you define a metric that you're going to kind of track, make sure you can drive actions out of this metric. Otherwise, you were just kind of frustrating whoever is calculating this metric on a frequent basis. You have a metric, your metric is your guide, and your metric must drive action. Once you have the metric, what are the issues? Don't forget, as I said before, what are the issues, but also what are the opportunities and what is working. And last but not least, guide optimization. So focus on what actually matters, particularly in operations. And I have, as I said, more than 20 years in this field. Everything is urgent. Everything is kind of behind schedule. Who is not living that anxiety nowadays? Is everything actually urgent? Does everything has the same kind of a power to make a difference? No. But if you are a data-driven person, you can make that call. And you can go to even to your manager or to your manager's managers and say, hey, let's focus on B rather than A because of data. And I'm pretty sure they're going to hear you. Okay? And just for us to kind of give some numbers here. So the companies that enhance CX can see even more than that. But again, based on McKinsey, from 2 to 7% increase in sales revenue and from 1 to 2% boost in profitability. Go to Wall Street right now and say that you have a 2% to a point opportunity to see if you're not going to have all the eyes on you. It's up to you. Okay? So for us to wrap up, what do we learn today? 1, we're going to speak the board's language. What it means that every single department across the organization speaks different language. And if we want to be more successful, we're going to have to position ourselves as a fundamental driver for success. That's exactly what is the lesson number 2, where we understand what are the P&L lines and we speak that language. And we're going to align whatever we do in CX with the business strategy. And last but not least, we are not guided by the wind. We are guided by data, and data that we know that will make a difference. Thank you so much. And I'm going to leave this for questions. Jen, I cannot hear you. Let me see if I can bring you back to stage.
Okay. Oh, hello. Hi.
You are.
I thank you so much, Cami. We're all CX leaders here, and I am confident that we're all walking away today with actions to put in place directly from this. I just, really well done and fantastic masterclass. Please, everyone here, please hop in and ask Cami. This is a great opportunity to ask the expert some important questions that you may have.
I think I have one from Vinicius here. So let me put this on the screen. If I'm a CX leader doing it for the first time, would you recommend this alliance towards making CX a profit engine? You start with the CFO or business first? Vinicius, it depends. It depends on, again, the structure of your organization. We do have some organizations that are more sales oriented. Some others are more product oriented. Understanding the business strategy is what I would recommend as a starting point. What are your companies trying to accomplish? And based on that, who are your strongest allies across the organization? I don't believe in one size fits all solution. What I believe is that, like in CX, if we are talking CX language here, what do we talk about? About putting ourselves in our customer shoes. At the end of the day, that's what CX does. And if we do that well, we're going to be successful. What if your customer is your company's strategy? Have you ever thought that way? In putting yourself in the shoes of your company's strategy and looking for that and looking from the CX lenses? How would you like to be treated? What would you do if you were there? Step out of your current position and start seeing others as your clients. And I used to say that very often, that to me, the only way to be successful as a TX leader is by incorporating, is by living and breathing experience. And experience is not by the time you kind of check in at the organization. Experience is when you wake up and how you greet your partner. Is how you treat your kids, is how you kind of greet someone, is how you collaborate with your peers. That is CX. It's living and breathing experience. It's putting yourself in the shoes of your audience 24/7.
What a great way to wrap up that question. I have a quick question. I mean, related to that. So you talked about tying those CX initiatives to the measurable outcomes, financial outcomes. Can you talk a little bit about how you've quantified ROI? I know that can be really scary for CX leaders. How do I prove this worked? Can you talk a little bit about how you've done that in the past?
Absolutely. And let me share kind of the example, Jen, I shared with you that resonated so much. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity for the audience. One of the things that I did on my previous employer, I had the challenge of transforming support, customer support, into a revenue engine. That was the main challenge that I was hired for. Back then, we were at 2.9 CSAT on a 5-point scale, right? The support team was fragmented in different locations. So when what I realized, as I just said, that there was no kind of experience culture in place. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that I did was work with my team in improving their experience. Because that's the other thing I want to share with you all. There is no way we can give something we don't have. If you are having a bad experience, how can you deliver a good experience? If you deal with apples, how can you deliver bananas? Right? What is your crop? Your crop is apple. So first thing that I did was to work with the experience of my team. And then setting the metric. For them, what was the metric? CSAT. Right? Resonates? CSAT. We are talking with CX teams. So what is the language? CX. What did I do with my manager? Revenue. How can I contribute? What are the metrics that I feel more comfortable? The first thing that I did was, okay, so if service is not good enough, most likely it's driving churn. So let me look at the churn metric. What are the main reasons for churn? And I saw support. So this is an example of a metric that is 100% tied to what I was in charge of. Again, I was not committing with anything that I was not able to either control or influence. But by working backwards on the negative impact that I kind of lower than expected support was driving across the organization, I realized that churn was one of them. And there was a piece of churn that was related to support. That's exactly what I committed. Okay, that's how we started. and say, okay, over time, I want to track if by improving support, the support related churn is reducing. And it was. And once I realized that we were going above and beyond, I say, you know what? Now I want to contribute to bring more clients because I trust so much on our support that I truly believe that this is a revenue generator. What I did was, out of the surveys that we were receiving, every time we received either 4 or 5 CSAT, we automatically send the details of our referral programs to those clients, and they would refer us in that moment. Because in that particular moment, they were satisfied because we transformed a failure into a good experience. This is magic, right? And whenever you are under the impression of magic, what do? You refer. That's how we became the largest referral channel in this employer. Again, everything started with us having a problem like many of you have. But if you keep talking the CX language, your scope's going to be very much limited. Let me see how can I actually tie this to something bigger that my shareholders at my C-level, what are their problems? Because then I become a problem solver for them. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we did.
We all love a problem solver for sure. We're coming close, but I want to shift a little bit into tech stack.
Yes.
That's such a key driver for all of us in operational efficiency and cost effectiveness. So we're looking at this big rise of AI and a lot of automation in CX. So as a leader, how should I balance the efficiency gains while still maintaining that very important human touch in the interactions?
Absolutely. And I love kind of bringing examples here, right? I am not sure, again, the age of our audience, but it was not a while ago that we used to go to the bank to withdraw money or to deposit a check. It was not a while ago. And we had to kind of do this during the servicing hours. Now we have the ATMs. Who goes to the bank? So now you have drive-through, my goodness, which is something that here in the US, it works pretty well. That's the new normal. However, the job that used to be performed by the clerks for clients to withdraw money no longer exists.
Yeah.
But we have came up with new ones. New ones that rely a lot more in the in-person relationship. So that's exactly how I see AI. And remember what I said about putting ourselves in the company's strategy shoes? Let's for a second put ourselves in our agent's shoes. What is one of their main pain points? I'm pretty sure that you have already heard them complain that they do automated work, that they don't have kind of the flexibility, that they cannot be independent. And why? Because historically, we have been giving them kind of a decision tree or scripts to be followed. And we want them to follow strict that script in order to have higher chances to be successful. But this is very limiting, right? What if those things that we want human beings to be kind of tied in a box and following scripts could be done with AI? And whenever we have an in-person interaction is when we're going to upsell. That's it. Wonderful. So AI came to stay. I personally love AI. Some of my slides that you saw today, I did with an artificial intelligence. Because again, why would I use my time to do something that is not one of my competencies? I'm not a designer. That's what AI came for. Mm-hmm. But I doubt AI could be here like Jen and I today sharing those experiences with you all. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you. We have just 1 minute left. I want to shout out Chris This is a fantastic question, and I wonder if we can take it to LinkedIn and continue this really important conversation over there so we can be very mindful of everyone's time because we are at time. Cami, this has just been absolutely incredible. I can't wait to go in and start making some of these changes in how I interact with and how I'm approaching the problems that we're all here to solve, right? We're all here to make our businesses more successful. So thank you so much, Cami. This has been wonderful. And shout out to Birdie. Really appreciate your hosting us and really giving us the space to share our expertise with the community.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And let's be in touch. We are CX community. I don't believe that any of us has the answer for everything. It's actually the other way around, is by sharing challenges, sharing experiences that we learn. So let's be in touch. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Wonderful. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.